Kuzuzangpola. Welcome to Bhutan e-learning project. I am Josna Guru. This is an English lesson for Key Stage 5, classes 11 and 12. Today's lesson is on argumentative essay writing, and I have certain objectives to highlight when we look into argumentative essay writing. By the end of the lesson, each student will be able to know what an argumentative is, what an argumentative essay is. You will be able to identify the features of an argumentative essay. You'll also know the difference between an argumentative essay and a persuasive essay. You will also understand the specific format of writing an argumentative essay. And of course, the last objective is you will be able to write an argumentative essay using the format and the features given by the teacher. So at the very onset of the lesson, let us try to recall the different types of essay writing that you have learned in your previous grades. I hope you're able to recall the different types of essays. Very good. They are narrative essay, descriptive essay, expository, persuasive, and argumentative essay. And in today's lesson, we will focus on argumentative essay writing. So what is an argumentative essay? An argumentative essay is a genre of writing where the writer will investigate a topic. The writer has to collect ideas, generate and evaluate evidence, and establish a position. The writer has to take a certain standpoint to validate his idea. In an argumentative essay, the writer presents an argument with pros and cons. Please be mindful of these two terminologies, the pros and the cons, and the writer must come up with a thesis statement where he has to take a stand and defend it using evidence to bring out the validity of his idea. And besides this, the writer also needs to come up with the opposing view, which is also known as the con idea, and refute it. So now you must be wondering, what is the difference between an argumentative essay and a persuasive essay? There's a very thin shadow line which differentiates an argumentative essay from a persuasive essay. Of course, in both the essays, you will see that the writer, he has to take a stand. He has to bring out the validity of his standpoint, his ideas to convince the readers. In both the essays, the writer will have to make others believe in his idea, persuade others to believe in his idea. But the difference is, while persuasive essay is one-sided perspective, the writer will just show one side of his idea, of course by taking a stand and defend it, again using evidence. But in argumentative essay, what happens? The writer will take both perspectives, will see from both highlights. So that is the difference between argumentative essay and persuasive essay. And of course, please remember that in both these essays, the writers, they need to take a stand in order to bring out the validity of the ideas by using evidences and facts. And one striking feature of argumentative essay, which makes them very different, which makes argumentative essays very different from persuasive essay, is the writer comes up with the con, that is the opposite idea, and then refute it. So that is the difference between persuasive and argumentative essay. Now, what is the objective behind writing an argumentative essay. So the objective is the writer wants to convince to the readers to validate his argument, as well as also bring out the opposing idea and then refute it. So before refuting, the writer must acknowledge the validity of the ideas in opposition. And after acknowledging the con, he has to critically examine and refute it. So you'll see, if you look at the structure of writing an argumentative essay, you'll see that the pro ideas are always presented first. Pro idea is your idea in which you believe, and it's followed by con idea, and of course the refutation is there after acknowledging the con idea. And remember, argumentative essays topics are very, very debatable. Why? Because if you come up with a topic which is very factual, you cannot debate, you cannot argue. So this is why you need to come up with a very debatable, controversial topic for argumentative essay. But of course, you need to use facts to argue that debatable topic, because people will be convinced only if you use facts and evidence. So students, so far we were looking into, the different types of essays. We're trying to recall, we're looking into the definition of argumentative essay, and also we looked into the differences between argumentative essay and persuasive essay. Now let us look further and then see the structure of an argumentative essay. So this is the conventional structure of an argumentative essay, and you will see that there are 5 paragraphs where we use to come up with an argumentative essay, but then there is no hard and fast rule that you need to come up with 5 paragraphs, but usually the conventional one is 5 paragraph specific format. So if you look at the structure of an argumentative essay, see the first paragraph talks about the introduction of the topic, where your thesis statement has to be there. And what is a thesis statement? It is the strongest sentence which brings out the validity of the idea of the writer. And in the second paragraph, if you look at the structure, you have to bring your pro point 1. And you need to support by using the PEEL framework. P-E-E-L. And I'll come back to this acronym later as we dwell on more with different slides on argumentative essay. So that was paragraph number 2, your pro point 1. And in paragraph 3, you will have your pro point 2. And again, come up with PEEL or use PEEL framework to elaborate your body. And then the third, so that was first, second, third paragraph. And now what do you see in the fourth paragraph? In the fourth paragraph, you need to come up with the con point. So what is con point? Con point is nothing but it's the ideas in opposition. Pro point is your idea, the idea that you believe in, that you want to convince your readers. So in the first 3 paragraphs, usually you will see your pro ideas, and fourth paragraph will have con point as well as refutation also. So what is refutation? When you go against the con idea, of course, by acknowledging the con idea, that is refutation. So for all these, the 3 paragraphs, that is like paragraph number 2, 3, 4, please, you need to use PEEL when you elaborate. And I'll come back to this PEEL later on. And your 5th paragraph, the last paragraph, is the conclusion. And in your conclusion, what you could do is you could come up with a very strong statement. You can always restate your core idea of argumentative essay. All right, now see, you can see the visual image of an orange, okay, and that is PEEL. So PEEL is used to elaborate the body in a paragraph. So not just for your argumentative essay, but you could use this Peel framework for any type of essay writing. So what does P stand for? P stands for point. It stands for elaboration. You have to bring evidence to support your example. And then, of course, L stands for link. You need to link one idea to another so that all your ideas are very much strongly connected and talks about one main thesis statement. So that is Peel. Now, let us look into a 5-paragraph essay outline. And you will see that I have used the analogy of a body. If you look at the top, it's the introduction. And in introduction, what you have your thesis statement, you have the background information, a very brief history of the topic, and then, in fact, you should come up with supporting sentence. That is to say the pro idea in the introduction. In the second paragraph, okay, if you look at the second, third, and the fourth paragraph, you will have in all these paragraphs, you will have different topic sentence. So this topic sentence are nothing but they in fact come up to talk about the main idea. And in order to support your topic sentence, you should again come up with examples, elaborate by using evidence, and then you should have concluding sentence to give a very good strong wrap up of what your topic sentence talks about. So that is paragraph number 2 and 3, bringing your pro idea. And in the fourth paragraph, you will have your con, that is to talk about the ideas in opposition. And there in the con idea, you will refute the point also. When you refute the point, you'll realize that at the end, you're acknowledging the writer's opposition view also. You're trying to say that, okay, I know the other side of the coin, but however, this is what I strongly believe in. So you refute and you will see that refutation is nothing but it's the pro idea in a very different highlight. And conclusion, like I said, is a restatement. You summarize the whole thing, you reiterate your stand or opinion, and then you bring out the validity of your idea. So if you look at this slide again, this is nothing but just further elaboration of what I have already shared with you all. So paragraph number 1, you have your background information, you define, you come up with a very strong thesis statement, you have the hook sentence in paragraph 1, and you bring out all your pro ideas in paragraph 1 itself. It's just an example. So, and if you look at paragraph 2, 3, paragraph 2 and 3, you have your pro ideas, and in paragraph 4, you have your con idea. And not to forget, you refute also. Paragraph 5, conclusion. So this was just, I was trying to re-emphasize the pattern, or so as to say, the structure of how you write an argumentative essay.
This 5-paragraph structure is one conventional way of writing an essay in general, which I have used here as an example to build the concept. However, you can write more than 5 paragraphs. Sometimes in professional academic writings, you may come across certain essays where every paragraph does not contain a topic sentence. Some paragraphs could be extension of the previous paragraph.
So I have an example as a question for practice, or maybe, just to comprehend further how an argumentative essay would look like. And this is pro-con structure or pro-con pattern. There are different types of writing argumentative essay, different structures are there, patterns are there, but we will look into pro-con pattern. Okay, let us look into the question. It's very debatable question, very argumentative, very controversial. Some people argue that gambling should be legalized, whereas others say it will have an adverse effect on society. So look at the words. If you look at these words, legalized, have adverse effect. So these words will show two controversial sides of the topic. You have one section of society who feels that gambling should be accepted, whereas, others are totally against that. Now, class, I would show you how you can use, you know, introductions when you write this kind of essay, that is argumentative essay. So if you remember, we talked about how we can use background information in paragraph 1, or to say the introductory paragraph. Here you need to offer some background information about the topic, like what is this topic about, what is gambling all about, if you can provide a brief history about gambling and who all are the parties affected when you indulge in gambling, what are some of the scope and parameter of the discussions or your argument. So this is what you could talk about in the introductory paragraph. So look at the sample of the introduction. Gambling has become an accepted reality of society. Playing the weekly lottery, betting on horses at the track, and dabbing on one's bingo card at the community hall are just few of the many forms of gambling. So you must have noticed that there is some background information about gambling. And here I have a hook statement, a hook sentence which grabs the attention of the readers. Gambling has become an accepted reality of society. See, now you can see the standpoint of the writer. He's accepting and saying that gambling has to be legalized. And you can also see background information and definition of the controversies. Like the writer talks about playing a weekly lottery, betting on horses at the track, and dabbing one's bingo card. These are different kinds of gambling. So it's background extra information, or to say a history of the topic. Now, you must have your thesis, and thesis will always take the stand of the writer. So when you come up with topic for argumentative essay, it should not be a neutral topic. For example, you cannot just say Google Classroom. Okay? So what about Google Classroom? Are you for that, or are you against? So you see, your topic for argumentative essay should take your standpoint. And also similarly goes with the thesis. So when you come up with points in the introductory paragraph, just state your points briefly. You do not really need to dwell to the heart of the matter, because later on, if you explain so much in the introductory paragraph, you will see that later on you'll have nothing to write about. You'll run out of ideas. And also you will see that there's a risk of ideas being repeated. So this is example of how you can come up with the introduction, and then you have your pro point out there. And it says that gambling provides government a very huge revenue. So that is the pro idea of the essay. Now, how are you going to write your body? Remember, I talked about the Peel framework. So you can use Peel framework to elaborate the body of your essay. Whether you're talking about the pro idea, or you're talking about the con idea, or you are presenting refutation, use Peel. P stands for point. Sometimes teacher would use the term topic sentence also, that's point. E stands for elaboration, you elaborate. E, the other E stands for evidence, L stands for link. So please learn to use this Peel framework wisely, and you'll find that it helps you in all subjects that require essay writing. Okay, let us go further and see. P. So when you talk about topic sentence, the point, let us stick to 1 point per paragraph. Do not squeeze in 2 to 3 points together. Sometimes you jumble up all the points together, and then you leave a very confused, first of all, a confused writer and a confused reader. So this P is nothing but topic sentence. In fact, topic sentence brings out the core idea of the paragraph. Just like, when you deliver speech in your morning assembly, you say, the topic of my speech is this. So the moment the audience hear about the topic of your speech, they understand, okay, this is what the delivery is going to talk about. So exactly your topic sentence gives out the overall idea of the paragraph. Now let us see the topic sentence for this essay. The most prominent argument as to why legalization of gambling has been so popular is the enormous revenue it generates for the government. See, the enormous revenue it generates for the government. That is the pro point one out here. Now you see that P. Now let us look into E, that's example or evidence. How the writer uses examples or evidence to talk about the topic sentence. And our topic sentence was, yes, generating enormous, huge revenue. So when you come up with example or evidence, remember fact evidence is the core heart of writing an essay, because when you want to argue for your point, when you want to debate a very controversial issues, people are going to believe only if you use facts and evidence. If you assume things, they'll not be convinced in the validity of your idea. So example, give specific examples or evidence, and then support your topic sentence. You can use statistics, you can use numbers, you can use facts, figures, data. These are different examples of how you come up with evidence. And do not be vague. Be as specific as possible. Why? Because you're arguing for your point. You need to argue for your point. So if you just use even the terms like I assume, maybe, I feel, these are very weak vocabularies. Let me read out the sentence from there, a few sentences from there. With a venture that crosses over $1 billion a year, many governments view gambling as an attractive way of bringing in money to the country. Given the fact that more than 50% of people in cities took part in some form of gambling, taking this activity away, followed by increasing taxes. So you see, very much talks about the topic, the idea that gambling has to be legalized. And you also see how the writer has used different forms of evidence. If you look at that 50% which I have made in bold, yellow bold, you will see that this is one example of data collection or figure or statistics to validate your idea. Now let us see how link is being used. And link, it stands for linking the different ideas in a paragraph or essay. A link is the last sentence of the paragraph. It is called a link because you can choose to link it back to the original question. You have the option to link it back to the topic sentence, and you can link it to the next paragraph, so that, it is a very collaborative approach, and then at the end it talks about one core idea. And again, here I have a paragraph which brings out the example of how ideas are being linked. Okay, such a high percentage of people gambling illustrate how the popularity of legalized gambling can attract people to cities, therefore providing a boost to the city's tourism industry, another sector that welcomes this source of revenue. So you see how the idea is being linked. In that paragraph, you will not see any idea or word which tries to, talk of something which is very different or controversial. Okay, so now let us look into con and how a writer refutes a claim. So in which paragraph do we see con or refutation? Very good. So nice to see that you can catch up very quickly. Okay, so con is always in paragraph 4, and then your refutation is also in paragraph 4. While pro is the writer's point of view, con is the opposition view of the writer. So in an argumentative essay, the writer is very wise and tries to say that this is my idea, this is what I believe in, this is my perspective, I strongly believe. And in the con idea, the same writer tries to say that, yes, there are some people who believe in other perspectives. He also tries to say that I know the controversies, I'm very much aware of the other side of the coin. But however, even though I do acknowledge the controversies, I believe this is very valid. And in that way, he tries to refute. So in the same paragraph, paragraph 4, please come up with con, that is the opposition idea. You're going against the pro idea. And after you go against the idea, bringing out the con point, then you again refute. So you have to go against that particular point in con idea. I hope you are on track and you're able to comprehend what I'm trying to share. So do provide a counter argument, that is to say the refutation, to defend your stand or thesis, that is refutation. So you see this con point and refutation in paragraph number 4. And like from the field practices, I remember that there are issues where students talk about. There is this concern that, okay, madam, we have 2 paragraphs to talk about pro idea 1 and pro idea 2. And in the 4th paragraph, how many ideas do we need to come to suffice con idea or to refute? Very good question. So you can come up with one very strong con idea and then just one refutation, one idea to refute. That suffice your paragraph number 4. So here we have an example of how the opposition idea is being brought out.
So this is con point and refutation. In your 4th paragraph of the essay, you will write the con point, that is the opposing viewpoint, and in this very paragraph, you will refute too. I'll use excerpts from this essay again to show you the con point by using Peel framework to elaborate, counterattack, and to refute as well. Example of con point: in countries where there are universal health care, researchers argue that all of these negative effects of gambling place a strain on health sector. Now, example sentence of using evidence. Studies have proven that alcoholism and depression are related, and reports indicate that approximately 44% of pathological gamblers are problem drinkers. We see figures in percentage to use as evidence and make the con idea authentic. Let us see the elaboration part. These studies similarly suggest that spouses of pathological gamblers also have high rate of depression and psychosomatic disorders. And finally, how the writer has used link to link one idea to another. Just as it has been the government's decision to legalize gambling, it has become the government's responsibility to develop and fund treatment programs for illness caused by gambling. So those were the examples of con point, and now let us see the refutation part. Refute: understanding that pathological gamblers do require help from the health system, studies indicate that it is important to recognize that only a minority of gamblers have problems. Therefore, the argument of those opposing the legalization of gambling on the rationale that it takes its toll on our healthcare system does not carry much weight, as the strain on health sector is minimal. So you see a U-turn in the refute part, and the writer takes his stance once again that gambling should be legalized since the adverse effect of gambling is very minimal compared to the huge revenue it generates. Your 5th paragraph is the conclusion, where you will write the overall summary of the whole essay.
So what are the signposts? These are just, words, suggestive words recommended to help you to either speak for con or point. Signposts gain importance in the argumentative essay because they enable the readers to follow arguments easily. When pointing out opposing argument, or to say cons, these are some of the suggestive phrases that you could use. For example, opponents of this idea claim or maintain that. Or the other example is those who disagree assert that, or those who are against these ideas may say that, or some people may disagree with this idea. So these are just, signposts or discourse markers to help you to come up with a con point. When stating specifically why they think like that. So sometimes, the writers would say, when they talk about the ideas in opposition, maybe they would want to say why they have this kind of opinion. So in such cases, you could always use this phrase. They put forward this idea because they claim that blah, blah, blah. Since, so you see, these are just suggestive words. These are just recommended. No hard and fast rule that you need to use those words, but it's very helpful. And when you reach the turning point, or when you reach the refutation part, again you can use these discourse markers. However, okay, you see, this is the other side of the coin. I acknowledge, I do agree to your disagreements also. However, comes back to his own original thought, because he needs to bring out the validity of his point at the end of essay writing, as simple as the conjunction but, or on the other hand. So these are few suggestive phrases you could use when you write an argumentative essay, and these are the signposts. The worst thing that you can do in an argumentative essay is to neither agree or contradict yourself. So you cannot be like, 50-50. There's no win-win situation in argumentative essay writing. Here, your point should be here, and your should be here. So never make that mistake of coming up with 50-50, or sometimes what happens towards the end of your writing, you do not realize, because you're so engrossed in writing, that you contradict your own pro idea. At the end, you might land up and say that, however, gambling should not be legalized because it has health hazards. So all the time you're talking about how gambling has to be legalized, and finally at the end you say it should not be legalized. Many times we do that, and then we do more harm, and then we lose scores. So, and of course, one very important thing in argumentative writing is, in the conclusion, do not come up with new ideas, because you will have no space to argue for your point.
And now, let us look into the assessment part. To assess your understanding of today's lesson, to guide you further and get some hands-on practice on argumentative essay, you can refer to English Literature, Grade 11, English Zindabad versus Angrezi Hatao, written by Khuswan Singh. And for class 12, please refer the essay by Bertrand Russell, What I Have Lived For. That's the title of the essay, and identify the features of argumentative essay. These essays feature all the components of an argumentative essay. Thank you for attending this lesson. I'll see you all in my next lesson.